Hello, welcome to this video where we're going to work out how to use your calculator to solve trig problems. This video is going to assume that you have already gone through part of your trig unit in your class and that you know how to set up trig equations. This is going to focus solely on what you press into your calculator from the equation to get the answer. Before we can start giving calculator instructions, you first have to determine what type of calculator you have. We're not talking about the brand of calculator like Sharp or Texas Instruments. There's two main types of calculators that refer to how the calculator actually works. There are DAL calculators, where the DAL stands for direct algebraic logic, and non-DAL calculators. How you can tell if you have one or the other of these things, first of all, is just to check your calculator case. If you have a DAL calculator, it'll sometimes say DAL just printed on the case. But if you're not sure, you can try a very simple test to see what type of calculator you actually have. Try typing in 1 plus 2 into your calculator. If you see a 1 and a plus sign and a 2 show up in your screen, either on the main line or smaller above the main line. Oops, let's try that again. So 1 plus 2. So if you see it anywhere, specifically the plus sign is what you're looking for. If you can see the plus sign after you type the plus, you have a DAL calculator. For the rest of this video, you're going to follow the instructions for a DAL calculator. When you press enter or equals on your calculator, on certain kinds of DAL, this will disappear and you will get the answer on the main line. Or you might have a DAL calculator where you press enter and they show what you typed in and then the answer on the bottom line. You might also have a non-DAL calculator, and the difference with a non-DAL calculator is if you type in 1 plus 2, you're going to see a 1 when you type the 1. And then when you type plus, nothing is going to happen. And then when you type the 2, the 1 is going to disappear and you'll just see a 2 in the screen. And then when you press equals, the 2 is going to disappear and you will end up seeing the answer of 3 on your screen. Again, with a non-DAL calculator, when you press plus, you do not see the plus sign anywhere on your screen. That makes your calculator non-DAL. It's not necessarily that DAL calculators are better or worse than non-DAL calculators. They're just two different ways calculators can work. But it's important for you to know which one you have so that you can follow the correct set of instructions for the rest of this video. If you have a non-DAL calculator, do not write down the instructions for a DAL calculator, and vice versa. Make sure you're looking at the right set. The other thing you have to determine before you start answering any trig question is if your calculator is in the right mode. Calculators, most scientific calculators, will work in 3 modes talking about the angles that you'll find in a triangle. Degrees, which is more than likely what you're working in if you're watching this video. Radians, which show up in the Pre-Calculus 40S course. And gradients, which don't show up in any high school course. These are just 3 different ways of measuring angles in a triangle. This video is going to focus on using angles in degrees. So if you want to follow along with the video and type in your calculator, you have to make sure it's in degree mode. To figure that out, turn your calculator on and look at the screen, and somewhere on the screen, and it's different from calculator to calculator, you will see either a small d or a small deg if you're in degree mode. Okay. You may also see a small r, or the little word rad for radians, or a small g and the word grad, one or the other of those things, for gradients. If you see one of these, your calculator is in the wrong mode to work with degrees. In order to fix it, you need to look at your calculator and you're looking for a button that has the letters D, R, G right on it. And that stands for degrees, radians, and gradients. Just keep clicking that button until you see a D or a DEG on your calculator screen, and then you know you're in the right mode to continue. Okay, so we're going to look at what to type into your calculator in the three different types of equations you'll find yourself looking at in Trig. The first sample equation I'm going to use is sine of 35 degrees equals x over 12. Again, the assumption is you moved far enough in this unit already that you know where this equation comes from. This video is just focusing on what to type into your calculator. So we need to solve for x. We need to get x all by itself. If x is on the top of the fraction, you can do that just by multiplying this side by whatever's on the bottom of the fraction. And in any equation, whatever you do to one side, you have to do to the other. So these 12s cancel, and I'm left with 12 times sine of 35 degrees equals x. This is what you have to type into your calculator, the 12 times sine 35 degrees. So here's the two sets of instructions. If you are a DAL calculator type, so again, non-DAL people, just stop listening for a second. DAL people will type in 12 and then their times button, and then the button that says sine, and then 35, and then at the end, don't forget to press equals. If you are non-DAL, okay, so DAL people can stop listening for a second here. You're going to type it in almost exactly the same, but with non-DAL calculators, trig statements that have sine or cos or tan in them, have to be typed in backwards, which is a little bit weird, but you'll get used to it if you have enough practice. You're going to type 12 and then your times button, and then instead of sine 35, you're going to type the 35 first, and then press the sine button. Now when you press the sine button here, your calculator is going to sort of flash and show some ugly number on the screen. That's not your answer yet. You also have to remember at the end to press equals to finish it up. If you've tried typing this into your calculator, you should get an answer of 6.8829 and so on. More decimal places than that, which we will round to 6.9 for the purposes of this video. Okay. If you did not get that answer, clear your calculator and try typing in the appropriate line again. If you still don't get the right answer, go back and make sure your calculator is in degree mode. That's the most common reason why people end up getting a wrong answer after typing in the right instructions. The next type of question has the x on the bottom of the fraction. So for this one, let's look at this equation. Cos of 67 degrees equals 30 over x. Again, I'm not worried about where this comes from. This comes off the triangle. We're just worried about the calculator steps. When x is on the bottom, you still need to solve for x, but you can't have x on the bottom of a fraction to solve for it. You need to get it to the top. You can, in this case, just swap the x and the cos 67. This is mathematically valid. It comes from it's based in cross multiplication. So you get x equals 30 divided by cos 67 degrees. And now that you've isolated x, you're ready to type this into the calculator. So for DAL calculators, you're going to type 30 divided by, which might look like a slash on your calculator, it depends on your calculator, 30 divided by, and then you're going to press cos and 67 and then equals. If you are a non-DAL calculator, again, you're going to type in almost exactly the same thing, 30 divided by, but your trig statement must go in backwards. So you're going to type 67 and then the coast button, and then you're going to press equals at the end to get your answer. Again, the answer I get is 76.77913 blah blah blah. So let's call that 76.8. The last type of question you're going to encounter is if the unknown is the angle, which typically we call theta. It doesn't necessarily have to be called theta. I'm going to use that here. So let's look at this equation. Tan theta equals 13 over 19. You don't have to do anything to get the theta by itself. It already kind of is, but it has this word tan by it. We need to get rid of that word. Getting rid of a word's a little harder in math because it's a word, it's not a number. We can't divide by it or times by it or anything like that. So what you need to do to get rid of that is look on your calculator for a function that says tan with a little -1 above it. That's the inverse tan. That'll get rid of that word. You can find that above your tan button. So you're going to have to find on your calculator a shift or a second function button, usually in the top left corner of your calculator, sometimes the same color as the second functions that are printed on your calculator body. I'm going to use the word shift for that button. But again, on your calculator, it might say second, it might say inverse. It's in the top left. If you're looking at your calculator, you're looking around the top left of where all the keys are for that button. It's pretty consistent across calculators. So to solve for theta, you need to press on your DAL shift tan, and then you have to look to see if your calculator gave you a bracket. Most don't, so you want to type an opening bracket and then type 13 divided by 19, type in a closing bracket, and then at the very end press equals. For non-DAL, it's a little goofier than that. You have to start with the fraction, so you're going to start by typing 13 divided by 19, and then you're going to press equals. That is going to give you some kind of decimal number on your screen. And then after that, you're going to press, don't clear the calculator out, leave the decimal number, and then press shift or second or inverse, whatever's on your calculator, and then tan, or sine or cos, depending on what trig ratio you're working with. Again, if you've done this right, you should end up at 34.4 degrees. Now I've rounded that off. It was actually 34.3803 and somewhat. I've rounded the answer to one decimal place. And that's it. So feel free to go backwards and forwards through this video and jot down the key presses for your type of calculator, and there won't be any trig question that you won't be able to put into your calculator. Thanks for watching.